Hello everyone, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I'm trying to get in the holiday spirit, but this tree doesn't have a long enough cord to reach here, so Merry Christmas. We had an amazing slate of games today. As of right now, the Suns are currently beating the Nuggets. I'm not going to talk about that game, or I might splice in something in at the end. We're going to start off with the game that I thought was going to end up being the best game of the day. It was the Spurs Knicks. This game had pretty much everything you wanted out of a Christmas Day game. Wemby had 24 and 11, and that was just in the first half. He ended up with 42 points. Cat got in his usual foul trouble. He was ripping towels when he had 5 fouls, and he was sitting on the bench in the fourth quarter. 3 minutes left in the third quarter, he had 4 fouls. I mean, just dumb, not going straight up fouls where he's just kind of leaning into guys, or guys are getting him in the post and going up into him when he should be giving them space, and that's just classic Cat stuff that he just cannot take out of his game for some reason. He was sat early in the first half too with 2 fouls. Like, this is just the Cat experience sometimes. Obviously the Knicks pulled this game out, but that was tough to watch in certain parts of this game because it's like, man, if Cat could just stay out of foul trouble, and I've been saying this for years since he was a rookie, he's always had this issue, and it was bad in the playoffs last year, especially against the Mavs in that Western Conference Finals series. But if you're asking Cat to be the 5-man in your rotation, that's bound to happen some games, and it happened this game, which was unfortunate, and I think it was the reason why the Spurs were in this game for so long and looked like they were going to win for the majority of it. But man, did you get the Mikal Bridges you traded 6-5 first-round picks for? I mean, he was insane today. He had 41. He spoiled Wemby's 42 points. Started 7 for 7 from the floor. And we're not talking like easy layups. We're talking tough middies where he's coming off balance and doing that weird herky-jerky style of KD-esque mid-ranger. He was just being aggressive. At one point, he had 22 points on 10 of 13 shooting. I mean, that is pure buckets. I never want to hear the mid-range is dead and that you can't get certain type of play styles in the NBA, because if you want to watch a guy that just gets pure mid-range buckets from time to time, Mikal Bridges is your guy, and you got it today. If you're a casual NBA fan that doesn't watch because everyone just jacks up three-pointers, I get Wemby is 7'5" launching 30-footers, but on the other end of the floor, the guy that won the game was Mikal Bridges taking tough mid-range jumpers like it was the 2000s again. How are people hating on the product when you get some of that sort of stuff? I think the worst part of today's product was the coverage, but we'll talk about that later. Brunson was much more aggressive in the second half. He was getting downhill. His touch was a little off today around the rim. Usually he's money on those like tough and ones, or at least shooting like 60%, it feels like, when he gets fouled and is bumped and is falling away from the basket. But today they just weren't falling. Regardless, it didn't matter. The Knicks won. A very impressive game, mind you. Mikal Bridges showing how good he is on a national stage and just having his best game of the season, being efficient. Josh Hart had some big plays, some plays that don't show up on the stat sheet other than rebounds, some hustle plays, playing good defense, good screen navigation. He played really hard. Deuce McBride hit a pretty big 3 with about 2 minutes left. Like, just everyone contributed to this win, but Mikal Bridges was the main factor. And I think Karl-Anthony Towns, if he were to play better in this game, the Knicks kind of run away with this one, even with that Wemby performance. So we'll see how the Knicks look further into the season. But as of right now, it's like I'm waiting for Mitchell Robinson to get back to see the full version of this team, because it feels like Cat at the 5, while yes, it creates matchup issues for the other team, it can be tough at times defensively, and it can put Cat in some difficult situations as far as matchups and getting fouls quickly. And that's what the Timberwolves ran into before they traded Rudy Gobert. So and even after that, they had some issues. So, that's what you give and you take with Cat, and he was great on the offensive end when he had the chance to be on the floor, but he spent the majority of the time on the bench because he just could not stay out of foul trouble. Anyway, I don't mean to shit on Cat so much. He's had a great season, and I think he's all NBA caliber this year, but that game was a little rough. Even though they won, and they could have won in a more decisive fashion. We're going to go ahead and skip ahead to the Warriors-Lakers, an absolute classic. The Warriors and Lakers keep delivering these games. Steph and LeBron. I just don't understand how like an 8-9 seed matchup somewhere in that range is so fun to watch. I mean, this game, while technically had no stakes, was absurd. I want to first start off by highlighting Andrew Wiggins because I think he's going to get lost in the shuffle a little bit today. He was aggressive on the offensive glass. He was just absolutely huge. He set up that Stephen Curry reload three-pointer with a tip-out rebound. Just some hustle plays, and I know he gave up that bucket at the end to Austin Reeves, and that was kind of on him, but Kuminga should have came over and helped. It was a whole thing. But I thought he was great for the majority of this game. I think he had a couple of timely rebounds and great plays. He did get blocked by Mike Breen, but Dennis Schroeder did hit that 3 right after, so people aren't going to remember that. But again, Wiggins was great, especially in the Draymond at center minutes, and that tip rebound to give Steph that reload 3 to cut it to 5. Just a big play on Wiggins' end. Though, to be fair, LeBron went and hit a 3 on the other end anyway, so it ended up kind of not mattering. Austin Reeves is the story of this game, outside of Andrew Wiggins, and obviously Steph Curry hitting some insane shots, which we'll talk about. The Lakers were only up 3, 97-94, and Austin Reeves went on a 5-point run by himself, putting it 102-94, and obviously the Warriors came back, but it was one of those situations where it's like, those are timely buckets from Austin Reeves, a guy who had a triple-double tonight, just an absolute monster. That was followed by an absolutely insane minute and a half of basketball. Again, the block by LeBron on Wiggins, only for Dennis Schroeder to hit a 3-pointer, just more total chaos. Max Christie hit some big free throws to put the Lakers up by 4, and then Steph hits an absolutely absurd corner 3-pointer over LeBron. LeBron forced him to take a weird out of form shot, and of course it falls because it's Steph Curry, and he just makes that sort of bullshit. Then Austin Reeves gets fouled, knocks down both free throws to put him up by 3, and then he gets stuck under a Draymond down pin screen for Steph Curry. Steph Curry knocks down a 30-footer with a little bit of miscommunication between Rui and Austin Reeves. Rui should have stayed high on Steph, and Austin got stuck on Draymond's screen, so Steph Curry should never be that wide open on a 30-footer with the game-tying shot on the line with about 12 seconds left. I mean, he makes those, it feels like 9 out of 10 times. And I know that's not the case, but tonight it just like, you knew that one was going in. As soon as it left his hands, it just looked like a free throw. And that's a 32-footer. We will never see a guy like Steph Curry hit shots like that, consistently at least. It's hard to think that there will be a guy that will hit shots like that. But then on the other end, they deny LeBron the ball. Steph gets in front of LeBron, cuts the pass off. So they inbound the ball to Austin Reeves. He isolates Andrew Wiggins on the left wing, blows right by him. Lakers go up 2. They end up winning. Time expires. Steph gets a shot off, hits the side of the backboard. And man, Austin Reeves, 26, 10, and 10. He's at least had 9 points of clutch buckets. He put them up 102-94, of course, and then he hit those 2 clutch free throws, and then he makes this layup on the other end, which is a game winner. Just insane stuff from a guy that's had a kind of an up and down season, and Lakers are kind of like throwing him in trade packages. Not that they want to get rid of him. And then, there's never going to be a face of the league that's quite like LeBron, where he recognizes a moment of this magnitude. I think Wemby has it kind of in him, but LeBron recognizing the moment, shares it with Steph Curry, saying, we'll keep doing this as long as we can. And then again, recognizing the moment and saying, I love the NFL, but today is the NBA's day. Like, that sort of stuff is insane as far as like recognizing a moment and, capitalizing on it. You're at the biggest stage. You played the primetime game. You beat Steph Curry after he hit 2 huge 3-pointers, and you go on national TV and say, that's why the NBA is so great. Like, that's something that you can't really teach. It's just the innate ability of some guy that's been playing in the league and has been the face of the league for almost 2 decades. Like, Adam Silver owes him so much for a quote like that, because that's going to be all over the place. Now I understand the ratings are going to come out and it's going to be like, oh, the NFL blew the NBA out of the water with ratings. But if you watch these games today, you truly understand the value of the NBA and just how amazing the product is. Again, outside of the halftime and pregame shows. Anyway, Sixers beat the Celtics. I didn't really get to watch this game a whole lot because I took my mid-afternoon Christmas nap during this game because the Ravens were blowing out the Texans, and I didn't really feel like watching that game. But Sixers get a win. Tyrese Maxey was big. That's really all I got to say about it, because I watched a total of 5 minutes of this game. But I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about my Mavericks before we get off of here, because my God, there could not have been a worse first half of basketball on Christmas. We go down, what was it, 22 points at halftime. Luka takes a step back on Jaden McDaniels, and his calf bothers him. He can't move, can't get back on defense, can't do anything. Mavs have to call a timeout, and he just limps off the floor. Apparently, he left the arena in crutches, which, that's kind of a cautious thing for NBA players nowadays, where you're putting a boot on or you're going in crutches early to take kind of pressure off strains or things of that nature. So that doesn't alarm me too much, but he's going to get an MRI done tomorrow, and I'm a little worried, because that kind of non-contact injury, though he does have a history to that left calf, it just worries me. Luka is now probably going to miss the 65 games to become All-NBA eligible, end of award season eligible. MVP is kind of out of the question now, which is extremely disappointing as a guy that had him as his favorite, and honestly, I had him to win the MVP this season because it just felt like he should have had it last season. He didn't get it, and it felt like in a way the league was gonna, give it to him on a silver platter as long as the Thunder didn't run away with the first seed and Shea wasn't averaging, the numbers, which he is averaging, so it would have been a debate. But man, to start the season kind of slow and then have this happen when you're finally getting going, and then for us to come all the way back in that game just to lose by 2 on an Anthony Edwards layup, it's just the story of the Mavs season so far, where it's like, yeah, I mean, we've been doing great, but we are just shy of where we need to be. Like, I don't want to say we're one piece away because I really don't feel that way. And to come all the way back in that game after a absolutely horrific first half as far as like basketball luck, and just it felt like the Timberwolves couldn't miss a shot at all, and we were not closing out the 3-point shooters, and Spencer Dinwiddie was taking horrific shot choices because Luka goes out and he thinks that it's all on him, all on his shoulders all of a sudden. It's just not great. For all the great basketball that there was today, I'm still a little disappointed purely because of what do we do from here? You know what I mean? Like, there's not really a trade out there that's going to make us significantly better because Luka's not going to be there. We got about 3 whole games of fully healthy Mavs basketball this season, and now Luka's out for an extended period of time, whatever that means. I would assume that means it's a high-grade left calf strain, which means he's probably going to be out 6 to 8 weeks if I had to guess. So 6 to 8 weeks, I mean, he's not going to be back till February at the very best, like early March at the worst, and that's just, I mean, if you're a Mavs fan, that's devastating because that means I mean, I get we're 6-3 now without him on the floor, but that kind of puts us in a precarious situation of like, are we going to be in the play-in, and is Luka going to be able to get his feet back under him before playoff time? These are questions that we got to start asking. And Timberwolves get a good win. They were on a 3-game slide. Anthony Edwards comes in, is hype, playing aggressive defense, is picking up Kyrie full court, things of that nature that just the Timberwolves were lacking these last few games. So good on them. Gobert had a pretty bad low light, but he was excellent for 90% of this game. I mean, at one point we were shooting 30% in the lane, and that was mostly due to Rudy Gobert. He got a couple of lobs, things of that nature. You're not asking Gobert to create offense, so when you clip Gobert in these bad moments where he missed a lefty floater or whatever on a post up, it's like, yeah, you're not asking that guy to do that, and why is he defaulting to do that? Like, you could just kick the ball out, but in that scenario there was no one there because he got an offensive rebound. I want to touch just for the last few seconds on how horrific the halftime show for ESPN was. Amazing, I can't even say this enough, amazing on-court basketball. I thought all the announcers were great. Mike Breen is an absolute treasure, I mean, we know that, but then we cut to Malika Andrews and Stephen A and Kendrick Perkins. Feels like a skeleton crew out there for ESPN, even though I know this is their marquee halftime show, and it's just bad. I mean, it's just not fun to watch. I saw a clip again. I didn't watch the Sixers-Celtics game, but they're debating who the best player on the Sixers is. Who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? They're beating the Celtics. That's what we should be talking about. Yabusele is reigniting his career. We can't talk about that. Or even the game with the Knicks Spurs. It's like, we get Stephen A is a Knicks fan, right? Can we do a little bit of unbiased media and talk about it instead of just yelling at the screen about how the entire Knicks team is soft and they need to respond to Wemby? Just slights like this where he's like, we need to be physical with Wemby and he needs to be physical by eating a burger. And it's like, that's not his quote, but it's like, really? Like, are you promoting the product or are you just going to sit there and shit on it? I get you're a fan, but at the end of the day, your job comes first. If I was put on ESPN right now, I get that this is a Mavs leaning channel in some ways, just like, other channels are leaning towards their favorite teams. But if I was hired to do Stephen A's job, you're not going to hear a word out of me about how the Mavs need to pick it up, or if the Timberwolves are dominating the Mavericks at halftime and I'm an unbiased, supposedly ESPN reporter, I'm going up there and I'm talking about how dominant Anthony Edwards was in the first half, and I'm talking about how Julius Randle is sharing the ball and finding Rudy Gobert for lobs, things of that nature. But no, instead we're just going to pretend to have a debate show at halftime, which nobody cares about your media personalities, ESPN. I don't care what Stephen A has to say. I don't care what Kendrick Perkins has to say. And I don't care what Malika Andrews has to say. I think she's an excellent interviewer, but outside of that, I don't think she's very good at these sort of first take debate halftime shows. Like, we don't need to be doing this. Why don't we just cut to someone, because we're only going to do 3 minutes of halftime show anyway, and then 13 minutes of ads. Why don't we just cut to someone that's passionate about the game, that's not going to shit on the best player in the game right now, which which was Wemby by a significant margin. Even though Mikal Bridges is great, obviously, Wemby didn't have a great fourth quarter. He was far and away the best player in this game, and it's like, can't we just talk positively about how great Wemby is? It's just little things like that where it's like the NBA has everything going for them as far as the on-basketball product was today. I mean, it was excellent. All the games that I watched were excellent. I mean, I get the Mavs were down 28, but we came all the way back. And that Knicks-Spurs game, great game. Warriors-Lakers, classic. Another classic. Can we just promote how great basketball is instead of, acting like this is some hot take show at halftime? Anyway, excellent slate of games. A+ as far as, or, I'll say A as far as, the day goes, because the Mavs, geez. That's all I really got to say about the Christmas Day games. Y'all have a great day. Merry Christmas. Have a great New Year's, and take care of yourselves. Seriously, this is the year 2025. Everyone's going to start taking care of themselves, all right? Myself included. Going to stop burning the candle at both ends. Here's to hoping. Anyway, y'all take care. Merry Christmas and have a good one.